In this video, let's go over how to take notes. It's a very valuable productivity skill because obviously it's going to aid your retention, and retention is going to aid your performance. So let's go over how to do it. First, you have to understand that note-taking starts before that actual event. You have to prepare. The first thing to do is to skim the topics beforehand, the topics that are going to be covered, know what you need to take away, and also create a list of questions for yourself. And of course, have your pen, paper, or your note-taking app or computer ready, whatever is comfortable for you to take the notes. And on your paper or app, make headings for the topics so that you kind of know where everything goes and you're already expecting something. And you want to make sure that you use pencils or erasable pens because you're going to be likely erasing a lot of things and rewriting. You don't want to have a lot of things crossed out. It just makes the notes look ugly and messy and harder to go back over. And of course, you want to use colored erasable pens if possible because you might have headings that are a different color and important questions that are a different color and diagrams which are a different color. You can create your own format that works for you as long as it's consistent. And make sure that afterwards you go over your notes. Now let's go over some formatting elements for your notes. If you have colored pens, you can create a style. It's up to you what it is. It's just make sure you create recognizable headings, bullet points, formulas, terms, and definitions. There should be consistency throughout your notes, like today, tomorrow, in a month. The way you take notes should always be consistent so that when you go over your notes, it's easy to find things in them. All these things need to be just labeled or use the right color for them. And of course, question and confusion points, you should also note down and have them be easily findable when you go back over your notes. Because a lot of times we create notes, they look great to us. Then when we go back over them, it looks like a mess. And not only is it a mess, it also doesn't have the right information in there, or at least we can't find it. At least when I was in college, that was my problem. Now let's go over how to actually take the actual notes. Don't write everything the presenter says because speakers speak faster than writers. And while you're writing, you're not paying attention to the speaker. Multitasking is not a thing. Basically, we're switching from writing to paying attention to the listening. When you're writing, you're not paying attention to the listening. So you're losing a lot of what the speaker is currently saying. So you're actually falling a little bit behind. So the strategy is don't write down every fact they say, but write down only conclusions and major takeaway points. And under the conclusions, write a few facts to support it. That way you think about the conclusions, not just writing things down like a drone or like a human recorder. You're supposed to understand the concepts. You're supposed to think about it, and having thought about it a little bit is going to allow you to write the conclusions and the important facts to support it. So that way you don't have to do a lot of writing. Now, what to do after? Afterwards, you want to go over it. Go over the outline of the important topics that you made in the beginning. See if some are forgotten, or towards the end of the lecture, if you skim the topics and some are not covered or you're confused about some topics, you can ask the lecturer about them or come to them right after the lecture and ask them. And then you can discuss your notes or the content of your notes with a friend just to aid your retention. You can write your own summary of your notes. It's going to help you with retrieval of the information to go over it again and again. And it's going to help you understand what you may be missed. So that's essentially how you take notes. There's no real magic to it. It's just use a certain formatting, write down conclusions that you've thought out and understood, not every fact, and then just make sure you go over it. Because when I was in college, I used to write a lot of notes, but I seldom went over it. And sure, taking notes kind of helps, but without going over it, it loses a lot of value. And if I went over it like a few days later when I started doing the homework or when I started preparing for the test, I already forgot so much that the notes I wrote, a lot of it didn't make that much sense and it wasn't that helpful. So make sure that you go over the notes that same day and maybe use a couple of retrieval tactics, like maybe discussing the notes with a friend, writing your summary, trying to explain it to somebody, debate it, so that you can see where your notes are missing information so you can then go and know what to research next or what to ask the lecturer.